Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Conversations with Natalie. I'm really excited to be bringing you my guest today. Now, conversations are powerful. Conversations are a way that we connect with others. Conversations are about learning and sharing. And this is what Conversations with Natalie is all about. It's about sharing those nuggets of gold, sharing those nuggets of wisdom and knowledge, and showcasing fellow business owners, their experiences, their knowledge, their wisdom that they want to impart on this channel. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So today I want to welcome Karen Bashford, and she is known as the manifesting lady. She manifests all sorts. I've just made that up, but I know she helps her clients to manifest, and I'm going to leave her to describe what it is that she does, because obviously she does it, so she knows best. Now, I met Karen through a networking meeting a while back. We've been networking. We check out each other's posts on LinkedIn, but we actually had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. My timing's all over the place. And I just had such a lovely time. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring her on here so that you guys can actually enjoy our conversation and maybe see what it was that I really enjoyed about speaking with her. So enough about that. Hi, Karen, and it's really great to have you here with me.
Hello, Natalie, and it's great to be here. Thank you. Loved our chat the other week, and yeah, it was quite enlightening.
So we've just been before I went on record or turned on the record and all that, we were just talking about our pets, and I've got a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old dogs. And Karen was saying she's got a 21-year-old cat, and how they're just part of our lives. So we are a cat and doggy people. How's that?
Definitely. I love dogs as well.
Oh, and I love cats. My dogs don't like cats. My dogs are terriers, and they terrorize the neighborhood.
Say no more.
So anyway, enough about cats. Tell me a little bit about you and your background and how you got into manifesting. I mean, that is just such an interesting title or interesting way that you work. Explain.
Okay. Well, the Manifesting Lady title come about simply because I would have conversations, literally just conversations with people, didn't matter who it was. And I'm a very practical person. So if somebody says to me, oh, I've got this problem, I'll always come up with an answer. But it seemed to be the answers I came up with allowed them to go ahead and manifested what they wanted. Hence why I got the title Manifesting Lady. You wouldn't believe it, at the time I was probably the worst manifester going for myself.
That's normally it, isn't it? We normally teach or guide what we need to learn.
Yeah, it was so funny. I'm standing there listening to them talk about what they'd done, and I'm thinking, why not me? But hey, okay, my background is financial. I've worked for a bank as a business advisor and lending officer. I've been a financial advisor. I've run my own secretarial business doing bookkeeping, payroll, sales calls, cold calling. So I've got a really varied background. However, it wasn't until I'd run my secretarial business for 5 years that I suddenly realised I can't stand computers.
Took you 5 years to learn that.
Yeah,
I thought I was a slow learner.
So it was a case of, I can't do this anymore. So I just shut the business down. Went back to work for a financial advisor. Worst decision I could have made. He was a micromanager. So it was like, okay, so why have I manifested this for myself? And it was like, because you need to earn some money to be able to go and do what you need to do. And I trained as a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner. I would add here that I'm also psychic, and I promise I'm not tuning into you. But I've been psychic. I know how to do the tarot readings. I do tarot readings. I use oracle cards. I use all kinds of, people would class it as woo-woo, but I class it as a very useful tool in my business, because it's just there to highlight things that perhaps are at odds with what's going on. So I retrained, and it was like, okay, so now what do I do? And I started off as a hypnotherapist. I did well. But then I realized that I was working with a client one day and it just wasn't working. It didn't matter how hard she tried, how much I worked with her. The changes she wanted wasn't happening. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, what do I do next? You know, you get those moments of, oh, what do I do? What do I do? I can't tell her it's not working. So I suddenly got coming through, take her to her inner child. And I'm thinking, what the hell's that? Please guide me. And I just got, she has an inner child, introduce her to her inner child. So I did. And that shifted everything. Because for me, the inner child is the soul. When you communicate with your highest self, your soul, you get all the answers. You don't need to battle to find the answers. You get them. And oh my God, it was such a big change in her, but in myself as well, because it was like this awakening that actually I don't need to hypnotize. I don't need to tell them what to do. They can do it for themselves. They just need a guide. And I become that guide. So that's what I do now. I help through their own abilities to guide them to create the life that they love. That's predominantly with women who have experienced some kind of abuse or trauma in their lives.
So you mentioned that it's, you know, the inner child is being the soul and helping people connect. And you make it sound so easy. Well, just connect with your soul. It's like, yeah, but we through whatever reasons, we seem to have lost that connection, that ability to talk to our inner child, or that ability to talk to our soul and listen to sort of our inner source, whatever it is that you want to call it. We seem to have lost that connection. It's like, you know, in dare I say, in the old days when you used to have these phones that weren't smartphones or mobile phones. They used to be attached to a wall, and you were really excited when you had a really long cord that you could go into another room with. But you used to get this disconnect, and you'd get this like harsh beep going in your ear when somebody hung up or whatever it was. It wasn't just the silence. And it's almost like that's happened, that everybody's got this disconnect from the conversation that they were having with themselves.
And that's a good way of describing it, because what happens is, as a child, we come with the ability to communicate with ourselves. We have all this wonderful knowledge we can tap into. But parents tell us that we're being stupid and we shouldn't be talking about things like that, because they have forgotten the knowledge themselves. So as children, we are gradually taken further and further away from that knowledge. The other thing that's also happened, and it's now beginning to reverse itself, is we have so much noise around us that we can't hear what's being said. And what we're being guided to listen to. Whether you class it as your soul, or you say it's your spirit guides, or just universal connection, it doesn't matter. When you quieten the noise of life, and that can be literally going to bed for 10 minutes earlier and just allowing yourself to just let thoughts drift. You can then start coming back to this inner knowledge and this inner connection.
So when you're talking about thoughts drift, I heard the other day somebody was talking about daydreaming. Just taking those moments out under the self-care banner and just sit and just daydream. Is that sort of the same thing?
Same thing, yeah. When you daydream, you're actually connecting to your higher self, and you're receiving what you really want. Like doing a vision board. When you do a vision board intuitively, so in other words, you're not sitting thinking, oh, I want to have this, this, and this, but you just allow yourself to, I suppose the way I would describe it is to breathe. And just quieten the thoughts and just allow yourself to think, so what do I really want? When you quieten the chatter, you'll be amazed at what comes through. And that's all you're doing when you're daydreaming, is quietening the chatter and just allowing things to come in. And that allowing will always be the true you, but not the programs.
It's quietening the chatter. For me, that's the challenge. I mean, I tend to do the best is in the shower, just letting that water flow over me. And it used to be driving as well, but I don't drive anywhere anymore. I've created a life that I don't have to go anywhere. So I don't drive as regularly as I used to drive. But I find the shower is, my husband hates it when I get out the shower because I say to him, I've been thinking. And he's like, oh, now what?
I love that.
You've been in the shower.
But it's true. There's something about the flow of water. There's something about just that moment as you wake up, that your mind is in a totally different space to what everyday living is. So you can get those magical moments where things just flow and you're standing there thinking, why didn't I think of that before?
Oh, my husband, he's going, please don't shower. It requires work for me when I get out, because it's normally I've had an idea about what I want done in the house or in the garden or something. But sometimes, like you said, it's when you just sit, and in my case, it is in the shower, because it's such a habit what you do in the shower. You don't have to think about it. You can't be holding your mobile phone or taking anything. So you just get on with showering, and your mind can just go off. And I get some really amazing ideas. And like you said, it's like, why didn't I think of that? That makes sense. Or I'll have a plan or something. But it's capturing that when I'm not in the shower. That's what I struggle with. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I hope I'm not the only one.
No, you're not. We all do it.
But it's how can we create that silence? We've got noisy neighbors, we've got beeping phones, and I know we can put them on silent, but even on silent they're still noisy, because that messages are coming through. We've got you're thinking of emails you got to respond to, you're thinking of the shopping you got to do, you're thinking and there's just this constant noise that we create for ourselves.
Well, that's the statement that's relevant. We create for ourselves. If we create that for ourselves, imagine what you could do if you created space to have that quietness. Now, I'm the world's worst meditator. I don't advocate meditating. If I want to find those peaceful moments, I will find somewhere where I can go and just sit and stare at something. Because in the staring, you're taking in what you're seeing, but you don't have to digest it. You can just accept that this is what I'm seeing.
It's like that staring into space.
Yes, basically. Yeah, you can stare at a candle. Yeah, you probably did it driving because you knew where you were going. So unconsciously, your mind was thinking, I know where I'm going, so this is how we're going to do it. And you're digesting what you're seeing, but you're not needing those thoughts.
And this is, I guess, where in childhood it goes, well, stop daydreaming, focus, stop daydreaming, stop looking out the window, there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. And this is where we start to create that noise so that we stop looking elsewhere.
Yeah. But that's all I do. I'm very lucky to be living by the sea. I have a harbour that can be full of water or totally empty. The point that I love the most is where it's totally empty. Nothing is moving apart from the seagulls or the birds. And you know that you can stare at something and nothing is going to change. And it's such a peaceful moment that you can just let those thoughts come in that aren't your mind trying to figure something out.
That's food for thought there and challenge to accept.
Yeah, you can certainly challenge yourself, but you can do it at home. You can sit and look at a candle. And actually, if you really think about it, how many times when you're watching TV, do you necessarily see what's on TV? You've already drifted off. There's another thought already coming through, unless it's a really good program, and then that's fine. But you're already drifting off. So imagine if you gave yourself permission to just let your thoughts drift. And then just ask yourself a question. What do I need to know? In asking what, you're not challenging your ego. When you ask how, you're challenging your ego to come up with the answer. The what do I need to know seems to tap in to your higher self. So you can ask that question, what do I need to know? And just let it drift. And you'll be amazed at what you suddenly get given. It might take a couple of goes to get used to it, but you'll be amazed at what you get given.
And it's going on taking space, going on self-care, going on setting boundaries in business. This is a great way to just take some time to set aside, to be quiet, to look after yourself. So it's not about, okay, I'm off daydreaming and let me see what I can get. It's about just being present in that moment, taking that space to just allow you to be quiet, to be you. So not only will you hopefully or learn to encourage getting ideas, but it's just about resting. It's about looking after yourself. Between Zoom calls or between clients, you can just have that time, which then will mean that you can be a better business owner. You can then be more focused when you're having to be, instead of just going from one boom, 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 boom to the next. So it's a great way to really put some time aside to just allow yourself to daydream, see what comes, but you're also resting. You're just resting yourself. So I like that, because it's a two birds or three birds with one stone type of thing. It just enables you to do, and it's for me to do yoga poses or to meditate like you, I understand the idea of meditation, but I struggle with meditation and I find that gets really noisy. But I can sit and just daydream. But I've always had this limiting belief is stop sitting and staring into space. You wasting time, you being lazy, you need to focus, all sorts of stuff that we get told. You've just given me permission to go sit and stare out the window.
Well, all you're doing in just taking that time to just sit and be quiet is you're coming back to your true presence. This soul that's alive and well in you, and you're taking the time to acknowledge it, that you deserve to recognize you. Because as we both know that when you get into business or when you go to work or when you're with your family and everything, you're always generally focusing on somebody else. And you forget about yourself. It's a natural thing that we all do, some more than others, simply because of the habits they've been created. But yeah, just give yourself permission to come back to you.
I like that. I do like that. And I find meditation quite stressful because I find it more noisy. Even guided meditations I find really noisy. So I know I know I've had a few.
Okay, get on with it.
Yes. Yeah, I get the breathing in, breathing out. I mean, I've had a lot of discussions with people who really meditation has helped. There's nothing wrong with meditation.
No, far from
We're
it.
not
It's
a one size
brilliant.
fits all.
Yeah,
you know,
it is brilliant. If you can get into it, it's brilliant.
It is. And I mean, but then on the other hand, daydreaming is a form of meditation.
Yeah, walking is a form of meditation. If you can just allow yourself to observe, not judge, not criticize or anything else, but just observe. That is a meditation in itself.
Cool. And there's been a lot of nuggets that have been shared here. So hopefully the audience will grab what they need and disregard the rest. So one of the things that you also do is you help people with, I'm going to say the word money, and talking about money. You know, this word that we shouldn't talk about, that you know, it's only rich people talk about money. We don't discuss finances. It's rude to discuss finances, and all these stories that we are told about money. I know more and more coaches are starting to talk about money. They're talking about money mindset, and they're talking about manifesting money. But how has it been for you talking or helping your clients with money? I mean, money is your background, working in a bank. But in a bank, you expect to talk about money. But the minute you come out the bank, we don't discuss finances. I'm sure you've heard that. I've heard that.
It's a bugbear of mine, actually, because one of the things I hate hearing when couples get divorced that the issue has been money. It doesn't have to be. This is the sad aspect of not talking about money. When you start a relationship, you can observe how somebody behaves with money. Do they just spend? Are they a bit of, well, you pay for it? Well, that should be a warning sign. Unless they're honest enough to tell you they haven't got the money, why are they asking you to continually pay? So there's aspects of our relationship with money, and we all have a relationship with money. Part of working with the bank was it allowed me to observe how people reacted. And once I left the bank, I put together the 9 money personalities, which I used animals for, just to make it fun. I don't believe in making things that are challenging hard. So I try my utmost to make it fun. So I chose animals, and prime one is, everyone knows the term burying your head in the sand is the ostrich.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what an awful lot of people do where money is concerned. But that's probably the worst thing you can possibly do if you want a decent lifestyle. Because if you don't know what you're doing with your money, if you don't know what your money is being done to, how can you possibly know what kind of lifestyle you want? Mm. And how can you possibly know how to create that lifestyle?
But it's also about being honest about money. I mean, I know my ex-husband, he hated talking about money. It was just, he just wouldn't share with me what he was earning so we could discuss bills. I mean, these are things you need to discuss. I know people who've been together for 20 years and they do not discuss money at all. It's you pay this bit, I pay this bit, and beyond that, we don't discuss nothing. And I'm like, but you talk about the food you're going to buy. You discuss the gardening, or you discuss the color you're going to build a room or paint a room. Why not discuss what you each have? But it's almost like, no, if I'm earning more than you, you're going to want it. Or, there's this distrust, and there's no honesty around money.
Well, basically, that is partly because if we go back, men were always the breadwinner. So they would hand over the money to the wife to feed the family.
Your sort of weekly stipend, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if you consider, that is a story that was created and it's passed down through the generations. We have yet to release that story. But we've now got a situation where women are also earning the money. So it's like, if you look at Victorian times especially, if a woman had money, a man controlled it. So you've still got that energy floating. It's like it's part of the mindset, it's part of the energetic energy that we carry from generations past. So men don't want to talk about money because then the women know how much they're earning. The women don't want to talk about money because then the husbands or the partners know about money. So you've got this conflict constantly going on between the man and the woman. The only way you're ever going to get past that is to actually acknowledge that both of you can be responsible adults.
Really?
And it's that responsibility that causes the problem. It's like it's a word we don't want to discuss, because being responsible about money means that you can create the life that you want together. But that doesn't mean to say that you have to hand over total responsibility of each other's money. You have to reach a point where you can look at money and say, okay, you earn this much, I earn this much. How are we going to divide the bills? Let's agree that a percentage is put into a joint account from each of our earnings, and we do what we want with the rest of it. What's wrong with that, for God's sake? But we won't do that because we're frightened that they might have a bit more money than I will. But there's such an easy answer if we ignore what we're taught. And that is, don't discuss money. It's not the done thing.
I mean, that's a lesson I learned in my first marriage, is money wasn't discussed, and it became a nightmare for me, for just understanding what was going on, wondering how bills were going to be paid. I mean, he wouldn't even discuss bills. And then one thing I must say is I'm really grateful to my second marriage is we discuss money like we discuss what's contents in the fridge. I know what he earns. He knows what I'm earning. if I decide to go on a shopping spree and buy books, he leaves me to it. And I say to him, you know what, I've just spent amount on books. And he's like, when are you going to read them? That's more his concern, as opposed to you spend the money. And then he says to me, oh, I want to get this and this and this. It's like, your money, you can do it. But it's almost become, we discuss it because we're just so used to discussing it. It's not asking permission, but it's just saying, I'm going to the shop, I'm going to go buy a loaf of bread. It's become the same thing. It was I'm popping onto this. I'm going to go buy myself a pair of shoes, or I want to go to buy whatever. It's like, okay.
Money shouldn't be a big deal.
And sometimes I forget how money becomes an issue. Whereas for us, it's not money. There might be other stuff, but it's not money, because we just so open with it. And because I've had the one and now I've got this, I really appreciate the difference it makes, because it's almost, if you open with money, you can be open with anything. And this I find really interesting. And I think one of the reasons why I'm really pleased that people are starting to talk about money, it's not about, oh, I'm earning this much and this is what I pay my bills and this is how much debt I'm in and this is what I pay my credit card. That's not the point. The point is, let's talk money. Let's talk about it. Where's it coming from? How do you spend it? What's your idea? What's the mindset around it?
Well, if you consider your health, you will talk about your health with no hesitation, because it's part of who you are. Your health is who you are. Money is actually a contributory factor to your health and well-being.
It is, yes.
So why won't you make it? It's a relationship you have to have. The same as you have a relationship with yourself, you have to have a relationship with money. You cannot separate health relationship, money relationship, your relationship with your partner, because everything intermingles. So if you're not prepared to talk about your money, you're actually separating your relationship with everything else from money.
And somebody once said, I heard it somewhere, I can't remember where it was. I think I've actually heard it from a few different places. Is money is energy. It has an energy. So if you think about anything that has energy with it and you almost suppressing it, what's that going to do? And one of the ways they described it is energy likes to flow.
Oh, yeah.
So if you like hoarding onto it, where's the flow happening?
None. That's why, like, one of the things I talk about is manifestation. If you want money, you don't say, I don't want to be in debt. Because you're telling the universe, actually, I do want to be in debt.
Because the universe doesn't understand the word don't, but it understands the word debt. Yes. And then I think this is it, is people worry about the debt that they're in, so they're manifesting more debt instead of trying to picture being out of debt or being in the black, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, because of my background, one of the things I teach is how to manage money effectively. And I would always say that you do not do a budget. End of story. Shocking, but you don't do a budget. Simply because a budget is a restriction in your mind. You do a spending plan. How much lighter and easier does that sound?
But one of the things, like you said, like talking about money, this is again also something we don't learn at school. Money is not talked about at school. We're not taught how to budget or spending plans. We're not taught how to, plan a mortgage or save or invest or anything. The only time you taught that vaguely is if you do accountancy or bookkeeping, but then it's different. It's not, we're not taught how to work with money, how to use money to help us, make money work for us instead of we working for money. And it's quite a mind shift to realize that money is not the root of all evil. But this is something that we brought up with. Money is the root of all evil. It doesn't grow on trees. Only, people with money are bad, and only criminals, and all these stories that we told. But money at the end of the day is a piece of paper and nickel and copper or something.
It's just a means to barter, basically. It's just a few physical coins or notes which we use to barter.
Money becomes such a serious topic. It's, you think of bankers, suited and booted and scowling.
But I wasn't suited or booted, that's for sure.
Except the odd one. But you look at financiers, you look at financial advisors, that they're always so serious. So, it's like, where's the fun in this? Why can't money be fun?
It is. It should be. There's no reason why it shouldn't be fun. I teach the way to deal with money by possibly, how do we put it? It's like taking the rose-tinted glasses off and putting the reality glasses on, but in a way that makes it fun. So if you want to achieve something that's going to cost money, what do you need to do to achieve the outcome? Well, you first off need to know how much it's going to cost. Mm-hmm. Then you need to take into account how much you can afford to save. Now, I never advocate buying something on credit, simply because you're chucking money away. Unless you pay for it on a monthly basis, a full sum, you're chucking money away. The bankers actually make something, I think it's a 70% rule, whereby you borrow and they gain 70%. I can't remember exactly what it is because I haven't spoken about it for a while, but they make a huge amount on you. Mm. Why would you want to give bankers your money? You worked damned hard for that money. Mm. Why give it away? So it's like, as I say, taking the rose glasses off and putting some reality glasses on, but doing it in an educational, fun way. Mm. It really starts to hit home how much money is wasted. Mm. Why would you want to waste your money?
Because that's what we taught to do, isn't it? It's what's there. So other than money and creating that quiet space, how do you help your clients? How do you work with your clients? And do you ever sort of get, and I'm throwing quite a few questions at you, but do you ever get sort of people just saying, well, you woo-woo, and how can you be serious?
Oh, I'm deadly serious, unfortunately. I'm probably the most practical person going. Yes, I am. I don't like necessarily the term woo-woo because that doesn't really cover what I do. I teach and I demonstrate about coming back to who you are. Who you are is a spiritual being. You're born with a soul. You're born of a spiritual world. That's not woo-woo. That is who you are. So no, I do not do woo-woo. I'm very practical. But I am spiritual. I very much believe there is the universe. I very much believe that we can tap into the universal connection. I very much believe that we can ground ourselves, but we also need to put ourselves out and connect to the universal knowledge. That's not woo-woo. That's who we are.
Are you finding that people are starting to wake up more to this? Mm-hmm. Are you finding that there's more of an openness to being more spiritual, more connecting to the universe and the world out there?
Yeah, simply because I think people are starting to realize that the old ways aren't working anymore. You know, that there's this element of the I am. Now, I'm not knocking the I ams, far from it, but actually we are is far more appropriate because we are a connected energy. Everything connects. So if we stop thinking of us as individuals and begin to recognize that we are a collective, how beneficial would that be? We wouldn't have to compete. We wouldn't have to judge. We wouldn't have to have a go at ourselves for not being good enough because there would be no need to. Because everyone could tap into universal wealth, the universal knowledge, and everyone would gain. Whereas at the moment, it's like, oh, they've got this and I want this. And, oh, for God's sake, please stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it.
We'll also get rid of this imposter, you know, like you said, not feeling good enough, comparing yourself to others, feeling that you don't fit in, feeling that you are going to be judged, and just this way of thinking that isolates you.
We should be responsible for our own well-being. We should be responsible to ensure that as a collective, we look after each other and our planet.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think nature is so important, and we are doing a lot of damage at the moment.
That's one of the things with the way I work with the women I work with. They come to me because they have been damaged by relationships. There's no two ways about it. They've suffered some kind of abuse or some kind of trauma. And actually, everyone has trauma. There's no avoiding it. You can be traumatized just by being conceived. Depends on the way the conception takes place. You can be traumatized by the birth itself. Even if it's a natural birth or a cesarean, you can be traumatized. Going to school can be a trauma.
Yep.
Oh, God, yeah, going to school, yeah, no more. But we all have a trauma. And what I do with my clients is I help them find a way of releasing that trauma.
So one thing I wanted to ask is, you know, from past experiences or from who you're working with now or whatever it is what characteristics do you value in people?
My own top value is freedom. And that freedom means being true to yourself. Now, I do know that most of the women that come to me have never really been totally true to themselves. So freedom probably is something I'm looking for, their desire to have that freedom. My other essentials, I suppose, of values that I'm looking for is being open and honest. But being curious. Open means to allow yourself to accept that you don't have to be right, that you don't have to prove who you are to anyone else. honesty for me means being true. Now, that truth can be not lying to somebody, even for the sake of saving their feelings, because it's not up to us how somebody else feels.
Mm-hmm. It's that responsibility thing again, isn't it?
Yeah, big responsibility thing. And for me, I suppose the one thing I would be looking for is, well, no, two things would be community and connection. That willingness, once you've done the work, to become part of that connection to others, to help the community.
And connection is so important. I mean, it's a word that it's one of my words for the year that I have to help guide me. But we've had 2 years of almost disconnect happening, and it's learning to reconnect in a way that might be different.
Yeah.
And it's finding the connections again. But you mentioned earlier, it's also about connecting with us, with our inner child. It's connecting with who we are again. And this is why I love the word connection, because it conjures up so much that we can do.
It's what this world is about. As people, we have to have connection. That is what's happened with COVID, and so many people suffering anxiety and depression and fear. Is we've lost that natural ability to connect, to have the physical touch. Connection is as much about physical touch as anything else. COVID's taken that from us. And we have to relearn that.
Yeah, and I just love seeing how different the new ways of connecting is happening, and how that's happening, and it's exciting for me, to see this. And I've used that word to help guide me, to help me make decisions, to help me in what I'm wanting to do for the year. And as I said, it's just that connection. It's okay, how does this work? How does this fit in? So what is the last thing that you did that was fun, or for fun, or
I had a couple of friends come down from London, because I'm now on the South Coast. I used to live in London, and it was just wonderful, because I've moved to an area I don't know anyone. So it's been quite lonely at times, but it was just wonderful to be able to just go together and sit and just talk about anything and everything.
Put the world to rights.
It wasn't even that. It was just this. We share some wonderful memories, because during lockdown, I was renting a annex of a farmhouse. They actually lived in the farmhouse because it rented out room space. And obviously, we had practically 2 years of being together practically every evening, lunchtime, morning. And we did things. It was a 42-acre farm.
Wow.
So we had a beautiful location where we could have bonfires, and it was just phenomenal. And it was just that reconnecting with them. That was so much fun, and having those gorgeous memories and adding to them. That's what I'm all about, is adding to the joy of living. So,
I like that. That sounds like fun.
It certainly was.
Oh, we have what would they say? We've gone all around the houses today with, with our conversation, and it has been a real, it's been fun. It's been a real pleasure to get those little nuggets out of you and to just learn some ideas, to just share ideas. But before we go, what is like a last thought or an idea or advice or anything that you would like to just pass on?
Trust yourself.
Wow, that is, trust yourself. And it's learning to trust yourself.
That is the biggest and best thing you can do for yourself, is trust yourself.
And on that, I can't say anything better than that. But if you would like to have a chat with Karen and see how she works, if you want any help, all her links will be in the comments below. But thank you so much, Karen. I've really enjoyed this. I mean, I could just go on for hours and hours and just keep picking your brain.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
So thank you so much, and we will chat soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Thank you for taking the time today to watch this video. I hope that you've got some inspiration, some motivation, nuggets of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, or just any of those gold nuggets that have been shared with us today. Feel free to share this video with anyone who you think will enjoy it. Like the video, and most of all, please do subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you again soon.